Hello, all, and welcome to this special Christmas Eve edition of Tomorrow. Tomorrow happening today for all of you. We hope that you're having a great holiday, whatever you happen to be celebrating. My name is Jared, going to be hosting, primarily hosting, but of course, anybody at any time, if something were to happen, can take over very quickly. In the middle, right here, see, Jamie, if you do that correctly, you could get it started right. Hopefully you're in the middle for the broadcast. If not, everybody's going to be confused, but that's their problem. Careful. That is a one Dutta. You heard his voice. Now you see the man to go with the voice. So it's sort of like at Disneyland when you go behind the scenes on a ride. The magic.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yes, and then all the way far on the right side of the screen right there, looking like he's fallen asleep, is Ryan. Ryan, how's it going this morning?
Well, it's not the morning, it's 6 o'clock in the evening, but it's going well, going well.
That's true, and in fact, we should definitely, kind of remind everybody we are a little bit of an international show, and we're also super pleased to have all of you here with us today. And, in our chat room, you all are all starting to check in. And, of course, we're very excited to have you all to have a very cool discussion about some interesting things that have happened. And at GTH 042, yep, we are streaming today. Everybody, frankly, has got awesome shirts. And Ryan has Christmas lights behind him there. And, in fact, Ryan, because of your Christmas lights, I think it would be good to start with you. Sort of Santa, came to Rudolph and was like, your nose is shining so bright tonight. Would you like to lead my sleigh tonight? So why don't we have Ryan be our Rudolph and lead the show into talking a little bit today. So Ryan, what you got for us?
This week we had a launch. Wow, everyone, rapturous applause. Everyone gets really excited. But it was, for me personally, it was a bit more than just a launch. It was relatively exciting. I'm going to bring up the details here because even though it ended up as a partial failure, Firefly's Fly the Lightning, for me, is definitely going to be one of the most exciting launches of all time because Firefly Aerospace very graciously partnered with NSF to produce their official launch broadcast, which is just, something ridiculously awesome that I was, was allowed to be a part of and assist in some way, not pointing cameras, that wasn't my job, cutting between cameras, more like, but it was a very, very exciting time. And the bit that we had to do went pretty much as best as it could go. So for me anyway, it was a success from my point of view. From Firefly's point of view and the customer's point of view, unfortunately, the second stage relight didn't happen as planned. I'm not sure. Firefly's statement is a little bit vague. I'm not sure whether it means it reignited and it just didn't fire for the correct amount of time, or if it didn't reignite at all, or whatever. But Lockheed Martin's demonstrator payload ended up in the parking orbit. So we're going to find out if they can do the science that they needed to do the testing that they needed to do with that parking orbit. We're just going to have to wait and see. But as you know, it's Christmas time. I think most people are probably going to have a couple of days off, so it might be a little while before we find out anything. But yeah, you are looking right now at the launch broadcast, which, as you can see there, didn't go perfectly, especially space to ground. SpaceX really blows us away with how well they can get live footage from the second stage and the first stage back down to Earth. Space to ground video is incredibly difficult. So yeah, that's why you can see some things flickering in and out here. But yeah, we did the best job that we could, and Firefly tried to do the best job that they could. Unfortunately, that second stage, as I said earlier, didn't relight for as long. Whatever happened with that. But yeah, it was a pretty exciting morning, if I may say so myself.
Yeah, and we're super excited with Firefly. This is still early on in the development of their rocket. And let's face it, whenever you're developing a rocket, it takes a little bit of time to get things right, to iron out all those kinks and make sure that your problems and your potential anomalies are all understood. I feel like a really good example of this that a lot of people were bringing up is Falcon 1. It took 4 flights to finally
Hmm.
get it to work correctly. And
Yeah.
we're kind of looking at the same class of vehicle here with
Hmm.
that. But still very exciting. Wishing nothing but the best for Firefly and gang. Obviously, probably not the result that they wanted entirely,
Yeah.
but still definitely progressing, which is a lot more than we could say for some small sat launchers that happened this year. Um, so, um, yeah. And always, I love that separation shot right there. That was
Yeah.
excellent. So and also I've got to jump up to Vandenberg to catch this at some point. So
Yeah, I
it
forgot
looked
what
like
the exact point was called, but there is, to my understanding, there is a publicly accessible point that you can actually see the rocket on the pad at Vandenberg, which is a very rare thing. Like Slick 4, you can't see the pad because there's a hill in the way because it's Vandenberg. But for Firefly, I'm pretty sure there's a publicly accessible spot where you can see it. I forgot what it's called, and I'm not from California, so don't take this as the gospel, but I think there could be a spot where you can actually see this as, as just a member of the public in public.
yeah. So Firefly Aerospace launches from Slick 2, which is where my personal favorite rocket, the Delta 2, launched from. And that there was a specific area that you could go to that would actually allow you to watch it. Like there were like to the point that there were bleachers made out of concrete just sitting there
Hmm.
for you to go and watch launches of the Delta 2, or really any launch that you wanted to. But the Delta 2 made the most sense because it was right there. And in
Hmm.
fact, most of the Tomorrow crew was there for the last launch of the Delta 2 as well. We all got up super early and went out. That was our whirlwind 24-hour day that we did
Yeah.
with each other. That was a pretty wild day. Maybe we'll talk about that in the members only show today. Which, if you become a member right now, you can come right in at the end of the show. But it was pretty amazing with that, and so awesome to see that still utilized by a company today. So yeah, as long as there's enough lead time, I would love to try to get up and see if the Delta 2 viewing site is still where you can watch
Hmm.
Firefly launches from. So that would make the most sense. And I think it's only about somewhere on the order of about 7 kilometers from the pad, so it's pretty close relative to that. Not as close as say like Slick 3 or Slick 4, but definitely closer than say like Slick 6. And then as you mentioned, Slick 3, Slick 4, Slick 6, you can't see them. They're behind hills because it turns out here in California we have this thing called active geology, unlike certain places in Florida. So which is both a blessing because it gives you really cool topography, and it's also a curse because you have to rebuild your house every 30 to 40 years. It's kind of, but at least our houses aren't flooding every year / rebuilding every 5. So, and then also 50 years from now, my house will still be above the waterline, unlike a lot of Florida.
Does
But
that
also,
does that viewing location still require a military escort?
I don't know. So I had been to you and I had been to previous Delta 2 launches, and they
I had
had
not.
not required. Oh, okay. I thought you had. Um, well,
No, I ended up
I
watching all of my Delta 2 launches except for the last one from a hill by my house where I used to live. I think it
gotcha.
was in Roland Heights, but it was like super far away, and it was all I could see was a tiny little dot, rising through the sky.
Well, myself, having been to several Delta 2 launches,
Oh.
there was no military escort at that time. You just basically went to that road that was there, and you parked and you walked to the concrete bleachers, and you got there. So,
Oh, we got
um,
we got for the last launch, we got bussed there from a parking lot, and
I'm
that was
fairly
that was
confident.
mil- that was military escort is what I was considering.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident that was there because it was the last launch. So I'm sure there was probably some worries about too many people in the area and just wanting to make sure that people can get out of there quickly if they have to. So
They didn't
whatever.
want us to get
Yeah.
rowdy.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-oh, they're getting rowdy. Us rocket nerds, we get pretty rowdy once the engines are lit and it's off of the pad. So, I've seen people get picked up and thrown. Because that's what the rocket's doing. So, um, yeah, so pretty cool. All right. Well, obviously, best of luck to Firefly in figuring out what happened to that upper stage. And overall, just they're chugging along, which is really cool because we've all wanted a small sat launcher besides Rocket Lab doing things constantly, which Rocket Lab also returned to flight during our break away. Right? I believe they did. So, and I don't think we talked about that, but they did.
Yeah, Rocket Lab really kind of, to me anyway, they're nearly there or just there, becoming my favourite aerospace company. They're just doing, they're this latest anomaly to me showed that they've really kind of matured and they're right. They're a proper aerospace company to me now. They're not a small startup. They are an aerospace company who knows the game, who gets serious contracts with the US government. They're doing good stuff and they're doing it extremely well. They lost the payload, right? And it's very easy for you to lose your temper and the company kind of crumbles apart when you lose your payload. Not looking at any company in particular, wink. But Rocket Lab really seemed to get back on their feet, work the problem, figure out what happened, and then get back flying again. And just it seems like they have everything figured out, which is I just love their attitude and how they work things.
Yeah, and I've also been seeing them putting out tweets about their building their first interplanetary spacecraft, which they're going to be sending to Mars on behalf of NASA and UC Berkeley. So I'm super excited about that. So I don't know if that's technically the first. No, that's not. I'm sorry. That's way wrong. I was going to say, I think that might technically be the first private spacecraft, but then also, wait a second, it's a NASA UC Berkeley mission. So, no. So they're just. That's how we're doing today. I should drink more of this. I'll go with that there. So to jump on the comments, some of you, almost all of you, are wishing us a super happy Christmas, and of course, right back at you, or whatever you may be enjoying around this time of year. We hope that you're having a good one. TSM Space saying Merry Christmas. A bit of orbital transfer for Flight of Nova and some space news, and Goddess Kratos reminding us to ask for likes. So we're going to do that. And Securus Light, of course, letting Ryan know that your lights are fantastic. That's true. Some of you mentioned the shirt I got on as well. So continue to give us compliments as we fish for them, and also give us likes as well. And yeah, look at Dutta's shirt. Hello, everybody. Dutta, take yourself. Dutta, take yourself so everybody can see your shirt, because ours are very obvious. Look at that. It's time for Christmas.
I would have my NSF.
This is an
Christmas
antique
jumper on,
now,
but it's a bit warm.
Yeah, how old is that shirt, Dutta?
very, very. At least 9 years old.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are we talking a decade here?
I think so.
No.
I think so. Oh no, yeah, it is. It is 10 years old.
I was gonna say, don't worry, I'll wear my my space shuttle ugly Christmas sweater next week to finish off the year with everybody. So so this is not only tomorrow for space news, but also top fashion tip as well with everything. All right, so Ryan, we've also got a little bit of activity happening down at this place called Starbase. Don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
It's a minor blip, but what's happening with our friends down there?
Well, at the moment, not really a lot, but they tried. let's put it that way. SpaceX tried very hard to knock out Ship 28 and Booster 10's testing within the span of 48 hours. And, props to the team down there. They're very ambitious and they nearly did it. They very, very, very nearly did it. Ship 28 was fueled up and performed a 6-engine static fire, which SpaceX has tweeted and said was successful, which means that Ship 28 is now practically ready to be. It may be rolled back just to have its stickers put on with its S28 and the logo and what have you. But as an operational vehicle, ignoring aesthetics, Ship 28 is now ready to go on top of a booster and fly. Booster 10, on the other hand, was lifted onto the orbital launch mount, and it appeared, with overpressure notices of closures and what they got into testing with, it appeared they wanted to perform a 33-engine static fire. However, just as they started to load propellant, they loaded a little bit in, probably 10% or less of the liquid oxygen and liquid methane. They suddenly stopped loading, and then the frost line started receding very naturally. So at that point, it kind of gives away the fact that the fuel started to boil off. So there was obviously some kind of issue with that test as it was then aborted. Whether that means something got stuck, something got frozen, we don't know. SpaceX hasn't said anything officially. But yeah, we got a static fire of Ship 28. We nearly got a static fire of Booster 10. And if they manage to get Booster 10 static fired before Christmas, this is a month. We're just over a month since the last flight, and this turnaround is the pace is unbelievable. They've launched the largest rocket ever produced by humankind, and then a month later they've got the next version on the pad, nearly ready to launch. I mean, the pace is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and this early on in the program too, that kind of cadence is unprecedented. If you think about the Saturn V and how often the Saturn V flew, it was certainly not a month after, or even 2 months after a previous mission. Admittedly, there were times where the gap was long for certain reasons, like between Apollo 13 and Apollo 14, because obviously, we've got to look at the command service module and make sure that that's not going to blow an oxygen tank again. But still, this is just amazing. I mean, there's rockets 100th the size of this that don't even have this kind of cadence with everything there. And I just want to say that it is really refreshing to see such positive progress being made on this. Because this is I don't think people really understand just how important Starship is, not specifically for the goal of getting humanity off of the Earth and getting to Mars and other things like that. That's a end game that's very far down the line. It's not the priority if you are, but it's more a stated possibility, a goal to do that. But it's not a present idea as to what the aim is. The aim is to get it operational and online, and that's very important for this little thing that we're all rooting for called Artemis, which is to get people back to the moon, and NASA doing that. So any of this positive progress that we're seeing from them to move forward and get that going is really, really great. Hats off to them. And I know if I were in charge of SpaceX, I would have everybody off for the next week and be like, hey, good job this year. Just take the week off, everybody. Just rest. And then let's get ready to come back in for 2024 and absolutely hammer everything. But also, this is probably why I'm not in charge of SpaceX. So
I've just gone on to next spaceflight here, and I'm going to quickly try and read out all of the road closures. What does it say here? So they're giving them the 25th and the 26th and today off with no road closures. But the 27th, the road is preliminary closed from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening. The 28th is closed from 12 in the morning to 3 in the morning. And the 29th is closed from 12 in the morning to 3 in the morning. So, they're going to be burning the midnight oil, as you say, over at Starbase. So, they have a couple of days off, and then they're right back at it in terms of vehicle development. And also, sneak peek, there's a video going out on NSF tomorrow, which I hosted. And at the end of that video, I said, if you think 2023 was exciting for Starship development, you haven't seen anything yet. Next year, we're going to be seeing launches ramp up. We're going to be seeing HLS development ramp up. We're going to be able to see hardware for the first time, really, with HLS, which is, it's a moon lander for humans. Like, how is this not the coolest thing you've ever seen? Like, it's going to happen next year. So, it's okay to be excited about 2023, but I think people are going to, genuinely start boiling and losing their heads at what's going to happen next year, like in the cartoons, because there's so much cool stuff that's coming.
Jamie
what I'm hoping...
She is currently actively burning the oil. Who said anything about days off?
That's right, Mom. You don't get to take any days off. So
that's why she's not here.
Yep, that's why she's not. But also, Jamie, hopefully you're having a good holiday, and you should get some days off. But that's, again, we don't get to control that. Man, I was going to say something. Yes, what I am so excited. He must activate the cube. Very good one, Jamie. I love that. What I was going to want to do, or what I'm excited for from SpaceX in 2024 is I'm hoping for over 100 Falcon 9 launches. So I want that. I want to see that. Because we have there's a really old Tomorrow space pod. Like, that's how old it is. It's called a space pod, from 2015 that I did. Which is like the top 5 rockets or whatever. And I remember I made the Delta II my number 1 because it was going to approach potentially 100 successful launches in a row. And that was unbelievable at that time. Of course, now, how many Falcon 9s have flown in a row? I think if you look back, I can't remember. I think it was from the beginning. I think it's from December 2022 to a certain point. Oh my gosh, there it is. There's me. There I am. I'm such a child. Look at that. That is me 8 years and 230 pounds ago. So with that, and also with significantly more hair, even with my hair as it is today, I still have more hair there than I do now, which is why I'm wearing a hat. It's called insecurity. Look at that. That was us back in the day. Being in my garage lit by 2 construction floodlights. So that was where I started on this show. Now look at me. I'm in front of a whole bunch of tchotchkes and stuff. It's. I'm hoping for that. That statistic, I think it was from like early December 2022 to somewhere in December. They did 100 launches of a Falcon 9 in that year-long time period. It's not 100 in 2023, but in a year from this date to this date, it was 100 in 365 days total, which is just like, that is just mind-blowing. NRJ saying 186 consecutive landings. Holy smokes. And of course, we just celebrated the 8th anniversary of the first landing of a Falcon 9 as well, which was pretty amazing. I don't know where you all were at, but I was I think I had predicted on the show that week that I thought it was going to get within the range, and that it was going to go off, and they were probably going to have to terminate it at some point. And of course, that didn't happen. It freaking landed. It landed, and they haven't looked back. And it's very exciting to be in this future that back in 2011, I will admit, when that animation came out, I laughed pretty hard at that. But again, as I always like to say, I am always happy to be wrong about things like that. 19th reuse on a booster too, just recently. Again, I almost flipped my breakfast with how wild that was, and exciting that is. So I'm hoping 2024, between January 1st and December 31st, that we get We get 100 Falcon 9 launches, and I would love to see a double-digit number of Starship flights, regardless of whether they're test flights or other things like that. I would like to see a double-digit number of Starship vehicles leave the pad, at least. Now, make of that whatever you will, but that would be very, very cool. And I also am really excited to see what happens with Starlink as well, especially with Star Shield, because I'm starting to get back into space policy and really kind of looking around at that and sniffing around, and it's really, really fun with that. And of course, yes, happy Xmas to you, Jen, in Dublin. So hopefully you're having a good one there. Also, I'm super excited for that Falcon Heavy to be launching an X-37. I'm pretty excited about that. So, and I'll show you all something I got this week that is related to the X-37. I was physically handed something that I have, but I'll show you in the members only show. So you have to show up there in order to see it. So, yep. So it's pretty cool. It's not anything like secret or anything, so don't worry. I'm not going to do that. But it's also related to a fun thing I did this week, which I will also talk about in the members only show. So if you want to become a member, youtube.com/TMRO/join. You can become a member now and join us immediately in the after show. So there you go. That's how it goes. So there's my plug. Don't forget to like as well. Get your likes in to help us out and tickle the algorithm. And let's go to GTH 042, which I feel like this is a good one to ask about. Any chance of any UK spaceport action in 2024? Ryan, you've had the first 28 minutes of this show. You could have some more of those minutes if you'd like.
It depends if there's a rocket to launch. There's your answer. If RFA, Skyrora, High Impulse, ABL, if they have a rocket and they're ready to launch it from Shetland, then yeah. If not, no. And that's practically all the details I can give you. You know, there is the beginnings of a pad. There is a lot of a pad at the port already. They have their spaceport license. They you know, legally they're allowed to be a spaceport. Physically, they're becoming a spaceport. I think 2024 is extremely reasonable for the first vertical orbital launch attempt from the UK. It all now depends on if anyone has a rocket which they're ready to launch.
That is pretty.
Because yeah, stuff exists. You know, they have buildings, they have facilities, they have a pad, they have a launch pedestal. They just don't have a rocket yet. So you know, now fingers should be pointed at Skyrora and RFA. Like, come on. Launch your rocket already. Be ready, because both of them have been testing engines for God knows how long now. So, you know, come on, just send it through the Eurotunnel.
I'm super. Yeah, through the Eurotunnel. Honey, you can put it on a Eurostar. Do they have a freight car for that? Yes, I'm an American and I know what that is. I've watched enough Top Gear. That is so cool. That is an absolutely beautiful sight. I gotta say, that is really, really cool. So that
apparently,
very, very
I'm
cool.
big on UK TV.
Dang, you're big in the UK. So, which honestly, we are Americans, so we probably are big just as ourselves in the UK. So
I'm a big guy too. So
you are a big guy. Yeah, there was a barely squeaking in of the limit in certain supercars that Donna drove. How's it said? Silverstone, I believe.
Silverstone, yes.
Silverstone, with that there. So
I got a cramp. I got a cramp in my abs trying to squeeze myself into a McLaren.
That's like me anytime I try to get into anything that's not a big SUV. So good times.
I had to move all the things from my pockets to the front of my thighs instead of the sides in order to get in the carbon fiber seat.
Why didn't you just put it in why didn't they just pop the glove compartment and put it in there real quick? Or is there not a glove compartment in that car?
I don't know. I didn't.
What a terrible daily driver.
I didn't pay any attention to the glove compartment. I am sorry.
Oh, okay. That's me. That's the
I
kind
was
of stuff I would be doing.
I was focused on getting good turn exit and hitting 158 miles an hour down the back straight into.
Oh, yeah. Look at me. I've
Yeah.
done 158 miles an hour down the hangar straight in the back. So I'm pretty cool, aren't I? So yeah, I drove a Aston Martin and a McLaren, and the McLaren was great because I could adjust my seat by 0.025 millimeters, which moved the center of gravity around, and I was able to move particularly fast. And I was doing this and that, and I was able to. I was within half a second of a group around. Anyways, I'm sorry, Dana. You are an amazing driver, having been in the passenger seat with you. When you said, "Let's make this," I think you said something in your Subaru, your newer Subaru that you no longer have. I think you said it out. I'm going to now make the car angry or something like that.
Yes,
Which
I
is
put it
pretty.
in angry mode.
Yes, boy, did it get angry. So, Bennett Elder is asking a good question in our chat room, which is, what about Astra? They still have a shipping container rocket. And last I heard, Astra, I don't want to necessarily say is on life support, but they are, yeah, it's not looking great for them.
Yeah,
So,
Astra is very much a company which is, in terms of what they've said on the internet, are kind of like, we're fine. Like they just haven't acknowledged anything. But if you look at their financials, it's certainly not fine. They haven't said there hasn't been any announcements. It's kind of in a middle ground a little bit. There. Yeah, there's not really much you can say about Astra because they haven't said anything. They haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't filed for anything. They've just, they've just got financial difficulties at the moment. So, maybe they'll work their way through. But we've been waiting for a long time now for their return to flight. I forgot what the date
yeah.
was, so I'll just quickly search that was. But they flew a long time ago. It was definitely not this year. I don't think it was last year. I think it might have even been 2021.
I know that Astra said that they were moving on to Rocket 4, which is going to be bigger than Rocket 3. And then everyone that I know personally who was working on rockets at Astra basically got laid off as soon as they made that announcement. And I am no expert in how to run a aerospace business, but I think if you're building a rocket and then you lay off all of your people who know how to build your rockets, I think you may not be building a rocket at that point. So,
and I was actually mistaken.
Yeah.
Their previous flight, which was their first flight for the NASA Tropics program, was from Space Launch Complex 46 in Cape Canaveral. That was on the 12th of June 2022. So it was last year, barely. But yeah, their launch schedule forms like a little bit of a checkerboard pattern. Their last flight was a failure. They successfully reached orbit with their penultimate flight. Then it was a failure, then success, failure, failure, failure. So their kind of successes are kind of scattered around, and it seems to be a little bit like a fluke, really. I know it's not a very nice thing to say, but they've publicly stated they're moving on to Rocket 4 and everything will be fine, everything will be great, and it'll be marvelous. And we can launch. It's like launching on a taxi instead of on a bus. That's this thing that everyone says, right? So yeah.
Yeah, where have I heard that before?
I don't know.
Jared,
When you fly across the Atlantic in a Boeing 747, even though no one does that anymore, you don't just throw it away. You fly it back. You reuse it.
I was more along the lines of where have I heard the this is now like a bus and as safe as an airplane before. So I can't imagine a certain vehicle that had been said about. So who knows with what they have. Sakura's Light says that they have hardware for the next rocket. So I have not heard anything about that. So
I assure you that means nothing.
Yeah, I was about to say. I know a certain other company that had hardware for their next flight.
For the next 5.
Yes. actually. There was a large quantity of hardware for a certain rocket. Are we allowed to say the name of that certain rocket, or is it not? Or is it still
I don't.
verboten?
I don't care. You can
Uno
say whatever you want.
Flighty.
Yeah, it was a little rocket that we called Launcher One, which is no longer with us. We'll force him out for Launcher One, our Virgin
Oh,
friends. So
all the hardware still exists.
I know, but like it's just
Where is it? Can we nick it and launch it anyway?
Can we go get the 747 because that paint scheme that Stratolaunch put on it is awful. I hate it. It looks so boring. It's just like it's even more boring than a cargo 747 to be honest. So I'm just gonna say it. So
It's like they've just forgotten that cargo exists and they've just got a big black crayon and just gone Strato launch.
Yeah.
And then done a
It's
big
about
S on the tail, like spray paint, just there you go. Done. Job's
it's
good.
about
Let's
as
go get cover.
it's about as inspired as a cinder block. So I look at it and I go, huh, cool. It's like, oh, it's economy New Zealand Airlines. So it's the way I feel about it with it. So yeah. Anyways, good luck to Stratolaunch with that there. So yeah, there's just so much that happened this year, like a lot of things. Although we could talk about that next week because that'll sort of be like our little wrap up show that we have for that, where we can take a quick look back at the year with that. So what else do we have with our previous week since our last show? Do we have any other cool things that have happened since then?
I've expended my list unless you have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, I do have one that I actually want to talk about, which I thought was extremely cool. Which is I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but there is a new type of engine that's being developed right now called a rotating detonation engine. I absolutely love the sound of that, and I bet it makes a good noise too, as well. But the interesting thing about a rotating detonation rocket engine is that it uses detonation, right? So most of the time, correct me if I'm wrong here, most rocket engines are not going to be generating detonation. It's going to be combustion, which is then going to be sped up through the shape of a nozzle to supersonic speeds before it exits out the nozzle. So,
That's correct. The difference between conflagration and detonation is the speed of the shockwave from the flame front.
Mm-hmm. And in rocket engines inside a combustion chamber, it is conflagration. So it is not
Correct.
a supersonic shockwave. It is that nozzle shape, that squeezing of the gases that increases the pressure, which increases the speeds a tremendous amount, which then ejects that mass at extremely high velocities out the back, hopefully in the correct direction most of the time.
And even supersonic jets, they require their air intake to be subsonic, and the internals of the engine are all subsonic, and they're accelerated by a nozzle.
Yes. So a rotating detonation engine is different because in order to gain that pressure, there is a detonation. First of all, it's detonation that's doing this. So it's a supersonic flame front that's coming through this. And in addition to that, it is a continuous supersonic flame front that is going around a circular channel. So you can see right there, there's that little spike inside of the nozzle of the rocket right there. And that is essentially, I don't want to call it a contained aerospike because the principles are different, but there's a spike there. So, maybe we could say a little bit that it's like that.
Is this a video or a looping GIF?
This is a video. So NASA just recently completed a 251-second burn of their rotating detonation engine test bed. So this puts out about 6,000 pounds of thrust,
Holy
and
hell.
this was essentially a full duration firing of this specific type of engine. And this is the first time this type of engine has ever been tested in what would be considered a full duration burn for, say, a stage 1 engine on a small rocket.
That is
So
gorgeous.
this is a huge leap forward for this type of engine. And what's great about these is that they're a little bit more efficient than traditional combustion rocket engines. Deflagrative combustion engines are somewhere on the order of about 25 to 40% more efficient, which is quite a lot.
Wow.
There are some problems with them, which is that combustion instability is a thing. You're trying to control a supersonic flame front, which is pretty hard to do. But as you can see, they've done a very good job on it, and this is still going from when it started. So absolutely amazing that they were able to put this system together. They had done earlier tests where it had only just gone for a couple of seconds at a time, but like I said, just this past week they finally did a full duration static fire, and it worked, and it did great. So I cannot wait to see this get released, as NASA does with all of their amazing info to the commercial sector, and see what someone makes of it. So there we go. So very cool.
Freaking gorgeous.
Isn't that nice? I want one of them. So
that's great.
Yeah.
SAC also has a video pulled up that's got a description of how this works, if you want to talk through it.
Yeah, so that would be regular combustion for like a car engine.
SAC, run that back to where you had it. There you go.
There we go. As you can see, there's the flame front propagating around at supersonic speeds. And as you get that expansion, you obviously aim the expansion of that flame front in a specific direction by the shape of the chamber that's occurring in. The spike also helps with that as well, generating differences in pressure, which allows you to do that. So, yeah, it is amazing. It both is a incredibly complex and incredibly simple thing, and I love every single thing about it because of that. It's difficult, but it's an easy principle that is extremely difficult to do because the physics behind it is very, very tough. You have to have great materials that can obviously handle continuous supersonic shockwaves zipping across them. As you can imagine, a supersonic shockwave is very, very hot, even compared to a regular rocket's combustion chamber. It's very, very hot. Yeah, but the rewards are fantastic in terms of your efficiency with that there. So I'm very, very excited to see what the future may hold for rotating detonation engines. So, and also
awesome.
that just sounds really cool too, right? Like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work on landing rockets. What about you? Oh, I work on rotating detonation engines. So, no big. So, rotating detonation, GTH, 10 out of 10 for the name shared with an aerospike. And yes, aerospikes are, hi there, aerospikes are my favorite engine, and I love them, and I will never disparage them, no matter their difficulties, nor what our friend Tim said about them, which I do forgive him for that. So, so sorry, I've got an animal has arrived and demanded attention, so I'm having to provide some for that.
I just think we haven't figured out how to best put aerospikes to work for us yet.
Yes, I agree. The regime where they're at, they work everywhere. So we should definitely figure out how to do that. And I feel like there's some challenges that can be overcome easily if the design is willing to occur. You know what I mean? Like feels like it feels
I
like
mean,
there are. Oh,
come
look at this!
on.
Look at this! Oh, I love it! Oh, that's the XR 220, right? Look at that thing! Look at that thing! Oh my gosh! Sorry, I'm having a moment watching that there. So because I just love Aerospike engines because they're amazing.
Calm
Because
down.
they're the best.
Calm down. You're stroking a puppy.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best with that. But I just Aerospikes have flown on small rockets. Um, I know actually one of our local colleges here in the Los Angeles area, Cal State Long Beach. Their rocket. No, dog, you're not going to have my breakfast. Hey, Aerospike, you did get summoned. Um, uh, uh, I know Cal State Long Beach has actually flown a liquid motor Aerospike before on a high power rocket. And Stephen Glasser's saying, will it scale to the size needed for a rocket? Stephen, I don't know if you saw the footage that we showed, but that was, Sachs got it now with that there. Go somewhere else. Daddy's talking about Aerospikes. Take a look. That's a full scale Aerospike, baby. So that thing is lit and it's firing and it's going. Which, if I recall correctly, this was also Hydrolux as well. So stupid efficient, ridiculous. And man, what could have been with the X-33 and the Venture Star, which is what this engine was being developed for. But of course, they had a problem with weirdly shaped cryogenic composite tanks. And everybody just said, you know what, we're just going to throw in the towel. It was too hard. So, and then of course I can't remember I think it was Lockheed that was building the tanks. Like 2 years after the funding had officially had the towel thrown in, they went ahead with their own money, just made it happen. Piece of cake by not following what they had been told to do, essentially doing it how they thought it should have been done. So
that's the problem with development money. It only lasts just shy of actually reaching your goal. And if you keep at it and keep at it, imagine how much better our world would be with all these great ideas that actually come to fruition.
Yeah, and R&D is a really tricky thing too. You can be unbelievably successful, like the Delta Clipper was, DCX, which I will always. I'm the DCX stan of this world. I will go up to bat for that thing every time I can because I love that thing. And it's just really great to remind people that there was vertical launch, vertical landing rockets that were happening in the early 90s. Which, by the way, admittedly, in Japan, there was one even before that. So I just say it's an 80s thing. So maybe we should find some new technology, like a rotating detonation engine. Anyways, that's all I've really got to talk about. Other than, I guess one more thing I could talk about is that the Jet Propulsion Laboratory here in Southern California is troubleshooting Voyager 1. They're still working on it. So it's a little hard to do that. If you watched last week's show, you know that there's a computer issue with Voyager 1. And I think there's a few things I can say about that, which is that some people who know how the original guts and programming for Voyager 1 have been brought back in at JPL this week, and they are working the problem with it. It's just that the problem is that Voyager 1 is currently a round trip 45 light hours. So, so if I were to send a command to Voyager 1 right now, it's Sunday morning at 10:50 a.m. I will get my reply from Voyager 1 at Tuesday morning at around 8 in the morning. So, yeah. And when do we get to load the Voyager protocol? First, we have to send it through a black hole to the other side of the galaxy for it to continue to gather knowledge. So, and then also, if I remember right, for Voyager, it was an alien intelligence that found it and decided to give it intel. This might be lore that's a little too deep for Christmas Eve. So, that there. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's all I've got, which is that they're working on it. It's not easy. You can't just be like, did you try unplugging the RTG and plugging it back in? Like, you can't exactly do that with Voyager 1, but they're working on it. So, Captain Quinn, I like that, which is, well, it launched the same year as my mom ejected me. So you both launched the same year. How delightful with that. So I guess if nobody's got anything else to talk about, we can just go and wrap up the show and get ready to go into our members show. And the way that we will do that is we will, of course, thank all of you. Since it's a surprise Jamie for a split second there. So thank you, all of our members of tomorrow. If you would like to become a member, very helpful to all of us making the show happen here, you can head on over to youtube.com/TMRO/join. It is as little as $1 a month. That's right, a quarter a cup of coffee from your local coffee shop. That's all it takes for you to become a member of tomorrow. And of course, if you become a member of tomorrow, you are instantaneously allowed into our members only stream, which is what we're about to go into, where we've got some cool stuff that I'm going to show you, both in terms of stuff I got handed this week, and also some things I went and saw in person, which was pretty cool. And of course, Donna and Ryan, y'all got anything for our members in the show as well?
I just push buttons.
Okay.
And tell stories.
Fair enough. So, all right. I think on that note, we're going to get ready to head into the members only stream. As far as I know, we are going to have another stream on New Year's Eve. So we will be here for you to wrap up this amazing year in spaceflight. And we're obviously going to be taking a look at some of our favorite stories from the year. So everybody have a good one. Stay safe, keep exploring, and enjoy your holiday ahead. Have a good one, everybody.